Welcome back everyone. Today I'm going to show you a game from round 6 of the Sinquefield Cup in St. Louis, played between Fabiano Caruana and Sergey Karjakin. Caruana opens with d4. We have knight to f6, c4, e6, knight to c3, and bishop to b4, the Nimzo Indian defense. And here g3 from Caruana, preparing to fianchetto's bishop. And in the Nimzo Indian defense, if you fianchetto your bishop, normally you discourage black himself from fianchettoing his light square bishop. So here castles from black, bishop to g2, d5 striking in the center, knight to f3, pawn takes c4, castles, knight to c6, queen to a4, bishop to d7, bishop to g5, and here a5, supporting this bishop here so that the knight can move in the future. Bishop takes f6, queen takes f6, queen takes f6, a3, bishop takes c3, b takes c3, and here Karjakin plays queen to d8. So it looks a little strange to move your queen backwards, but Karjakin's idea was to protect his bishop so that the knight will be free to move. The computer actually suggests in this position the move rook a to b8, with the idea of playing b5, and this move also makes sense because you're moving your rook off this diagonal. And here another interesting possibility was to move knight captures on d4, giving up your bishop for 3 pawns. So the line will go something like this. After queen takes c7, play b5, and your idea is just basically to push your pawns down the board, and maybe rook c8 and b8 to support those pawns. So this is an interesting alternative to consider. But Karjakin didn't go for that, he plays queen to d8. Caruana plays queen takes c4. We have a4 from Karjakin, clearing up the square for the knight, so the knight maybe can bounce into b3. Knight to d2, opening up the bishop, and also maybe supporting e4 in the future. Knight to a5, attacking the queen, so the queen goes to b4. Looking at this pawn, rook to a7 defending, rook a to b1, b6, e3, and here bishop to c6 from Karjakin, challenging the other bishop on the long diagonal. We have bishop takes c6, knight takes c6, queen to b5, attacking the knight, and here a nice move from Karjakin, queen to a8, protecting the knight, and also looking at these weak light squares. c4 from Caruana, so looking at some pawn breaks, rook to d8, rook up to c1, and here a slight inaccuracy from Karjakin. He plays e5, which allows Caruana to push forward with d5, gaining more space. Instead, Karjakin probably should have played something like knight to a5. Since he is a little bit cramped in this position, the next move is something like queen to c6, trying to trade queens. And if white captures here, simply move the knight out of the way, knight to c6, and after queen moves, simply capture on a3. So this wasn't an alternative to the move e5. So Caruana pushes forward, d5, and we have knight to b8, maybe looking at c5. And here c5 from white, blasting open the position. And as black, you don't want to capture because, well, if you capture, then you have a very weak pawn on c7. And although this pawn seems to be unprotected, you can't capture it because of back rank issues. So if something like rook takes d5, simply queen captures, and you can't take the queen because if queen takes, simply rook captures with checkmate to follow. And if you capture with the queen, well, the same thing. The back rank is weak. So b takes c5 is something you don't want to play as black. So here rook to a5 from Karjakin, queen retreats, queen captures on d5. We have c takes b6, c takes b6, and here knight to c4. looking at this pawn, looking at this rook, and also maybe the e5 pawn. We have rook to c5, and here queen captures on b6, and here you can see that black has some background weaknesses. The threat is simply to play queen takes b8, and the best defense would be to play rook to f8 for black, and here it would probably go something like queen takes b8, rook takes c4, after capture, and here simply queen takes e5, white is up a pawn, but well, black can still hope to hold this, but it will be quite difficult. But instead, Karjakin blunders. He plays f6, and this allows Caruana to play a very strong move, rook to d1, skewering the queen and the rook. So here, Karjakin just gives up his queen. He plays queen takes d1, rook takes d1, rook takes d1, check, and after king to g2, Karjakin resigned the game. Both the knight and the rook are under attack, and there just simply isn't a way to avoid losing a piece. If you try something like rook to c8, then simply queen to e6 check, followed by picking up the rook. And similarly, if you play rook captures on c4, well, queen to e6 also picks up the rook. So after this game, Fabiano Caruana is currently the sole leader of this tournament. And there are still other games going on, so we shall see if anyone is going to join Caruana in the lead. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, please subscribe for more future content. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.